Well, regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. It is great to have you with us on the program once again. Here momentarily, we're going to talk with West Virginia Delegate Gary Howell about a proposal that he and now I guess more than 30 of his colleagues have put forth in West Virginia, offering a way for Virginia counties to become West Virginia counties. Yes, a way for West Virginia to annex Virginia counties that want to leave the state of Virginia. There's one big barrier to this plan, but it's a fascinating conversation, and you'll hear that momentarily. Also, on today's program, we are going to get to some of your emails and your comments, and we'll also give you a sneak peek of what to expect next week in terms of our coverage of Lobby Day in Richmond, Virginia, and then SHOT Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. But right now, strap yourselves in. Get ready for a very, very interesting conversation with West Virginia Delegate Gary Howell. Well, Delegate Howell, thank you so much for coming on the program, sir. It's a real pleasure talking with you.
Hey, it's great to be on there. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I got to say, I was fascinated when I first learned about this resolution that you and some of your colleagues have offered up in West Virginia, basically inviting counties and cities and towns in the state of Virginia to leave and to be annexed by West Virginia if and there's one big caveat here, if the Virginia General Assembly were to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heavy lift, but could it happen? I think it's a long shot, but we needed to make the offer. 156 years ago, we were formed out of the state of Virginia. And in fact, Frederick County, Virginia has the ability to leave the state now if they wish, because they were already authorized by the Virginia legislature to leave. They just never acted on it, and there was no end date on it. We all learned about that in West Virginia history growing up here. So, that was kind of the pattern. So, okay, let's give the other counties the opportunity. Obviously, 156 years ago, Richmond wouldn't listen to us, so our ancestors were there, and now we see Richmond not listening to the rest of Virginia.
I got to tell you, I did not grow up in Virginia, so I didn't take Virginia history, but I did not know that Frederick County has the ability to leave the state, and I wonder how many Frederick County residents are aware of that as well.
Well, yeah, an interesting thing, it was actually Berkeley County, Jefferson County, and Frederick County, Virginia were given the option to join the state of West Virginia, and two of them exercised that option. The third one did not.
And so that's still on the table. Well, they may be changing their minds here before long. So, again, you say this is a heavy lift. I doubt the General Assembly is going to allow, let's say, all 91 of Virginia's Second Amendment sanctuary counties to become part of West Virginia because, that would leave a very small state of Virginia. And I don't think they're willing to give us up, Delegate. I think they just want to exercise control over the residents of the state of Virginia.
And I think you're right on that. But, at some point they have to look at the advantages of letting them go. They get a super majority in their House and Senate to do what they want. They no longer have these guys that are a pain to them. We get them, and they're more like us. If you look at the Shenandoah Valley, the Blue Ridge, and probably the western half of Southside Virginia, they have more in common, whether it be demographics, geographics, or economics, with West Virginia than they do the remainder of Virginia. At what point do these arbitrary lines we've drawn on a map no longer make sense, and we move them? And that's kind of the way we see it. They don't make sense anymore. So come on over, join us.
So under this resolution, how many sponsors does this have now?
People keep adding on to it. We have tripartisan support. It's Republicans, Democrats, and Independent. People keep coming into my office, hey, can I sign on to the resolution? And since it's already introduced, we have a process, and they fill out a form, and I have to sign off on it. But they keep coming in. Somewhere it's in the 30s right now, and about 100-member legislature.
Okay. So do you anticipate this actually coming up for a vote?
I believe it will come up for a vote. We've got most of our leadership in the House is on it. One of the big pushers of it is our majority leader, she keeps saying, let's get this thing out. Let's get it over to the Senate so they can run it.
Wow.
We have the Senate resolution on our side. We've already passed it out of committee, so we're about to run it here too.
Oh, so there's a concurrent resolution from the Senate that would offer of the same opportunity for these counties.
Well, the Senate's version is for Frederick County specific.
Specifically, okay.
Yeah. And our version is for the rest of the county.
Okay. Well, listen, the more the merrier. I mean, if the Senate's going to, say, come on over Frederick County, you might as well open it up to the rest of the state. And so if this were to be approved under the terms of the legislation that I read or the resolution that I read, counties that wish to leave the state of Virginia and be annexed by the state of West Virginia would have to hold a referendum by, was it August the 1st of 2020? Is that correct?
Well, there's two
mechanisms, yeah.
Right. Well, the first path is by August 1st. And the reason that number is in there, under our state laws, that is the last day we can change the ballot for the November election. So it would have to be put on the ballot for the November election. After that, if anybody decides to come in, then it would trigger the governor calling a special election, so we could have a special election for that. And we've left it open-ended, so they can come at any time in the future.
But again, with the approval of the Virginia General Assembly, let's just hypothesize that they gave that approval. They said, we're all right, we're done with you recalcitrant counties. A county were to vote, let's say Augusta County holds a referendum July 4th. I think July 4th, by the way, would be a really good day to hold referendums on this issue. And voters were to approve that. Then you're saying that West Virginia voters would have to accept the Augusta County into the state, right? So there'd be another referendum for West Virginia voters.
That is correct. And that would, if they passed it on July 4th, that's before the August 1st deadline, it would automatically be put on our general election ballot in November. And if approved by the voters of West Virginia, they would be admitted to the state. Now, at that point, we would call a special session of the legislature, decide exactly how that's going to happen. We've actually thought this through a little bit. At that point, we would say, all right, we're going to prepare for you to come in, but you're not officially going to come in until June 20th, 2021. The reason we picked June 20th is that's our birth date as a state.
I love the fact that you guys are actually having discussions about this. I mean, you're taking this seriously.
We're taking this very seriously, and we've actually talked with our counterparts in Virginia on this. And they've asked us some of these questions, so we've been trying to come up with the answers. How would our road system be integrated? How our universities and colleges, how would they be the employees? We'd even look at we would have to pay Virginia for the structures and everything they've built in the part that comes over, which is what happened 156 years ago. So we'd have to bond out money to take over that portion of the debt. And with the revenue from the new counties and what our current debt load is, that really shouldn't be a problem for us.
Have you spoken with any of your Democratic counterparts in the state of Virginia about this?
Not in not in Virginia. We have not, but it's my understanding that some of the Republicans are talking to them. So,
okay.
But the interesting thing, one of the emails we got from a gentleman in Yorktown, Virginia, he had actually suggested if the legislature will not allow them to hold the vote to leave in the individual counties, the actual counties could sue in federal court for the right to self-determination to hold the vote. And I had never thought about that.
I hadn't either, and I'm not an attorney, so I don't know one way or the other how valid an argument that is, but that's worth exploring. I got to tell you, Delegate, we are certainly living in interesting times, are we not?
We are, and and like I said, there are arbitrary lines on the map, and since the founding of the nation, economics, demographics have changed, and maybe it's time we look at changing the map. I mean, is it, does Pennsylvania make the same offer to Western New York? Does Indiana make the same offer to Southern Illinois? Southern Illinois and Indiana probably have more in common than they do with Chicago. It's a time to look at redrawing the maps to make this, give people the freedoms that they want, and the people that want more government, let them have their more government. Well,
it's interesting. I mean, we redraw congressional districts and state delegate districts every 10 years. The idea of redrawing these state boundaries. And you're right. I mean, it seems to me like probably the biggest objection at this point, given the fractious nature of American politics at this moment in time, probably the biggest issue would be, all right, well, who's going to, as you say, you got to pay for all of the improvements that we've made. Does Virginia Tech become West Virginia Tech? What do you do to their football program? I mean, you know, it seems like it would be like the nuts and bolts. I think probably at that 50,000 foot level, you'd probably find a lot of support for people saying, yeah, that might actually improve things if we're not at each other's throats all of the time.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the way we look at it. You know, with the governor of Virginia, you know, I think he's crazy. You know, his followers probably think he's sane, and we're the crazy ones. But, you know, with the way he's been pushing the rhetoric and, you know, what's going on Monday with the rally at the Capitol and him saying no firearms and violating the Second Amendment, you know, at some point, some wacko on either side do something. And nobody wants that to happen.
Yeah.
But we live in a nation where we said, let's vote. You know, we have a republic and we elect our representatives. Let the representatives say, hey, maybe it's time we move the border. Let's do it peacefully. Let's hold a vote. That's where our country was founded. Let's make that happen.
Farmville, West Virginia. I kind of like the sound of that. Delegate Howell, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program. Hope that we can have you back on again very soon.
Look forward to it anytime.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Delegate Gary Howell joining us here on Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. See, I told you that was fascinating. I had no idea about Frederick County, Virginia. And I'm going to be reaching out to some folks in Frederick County, Virginia, because I don't know how many folks in Frederick County, Virginia know that this is apparently an option for them. Now, Frederick County is northwest Virginia. Winchester, Virginia is the county seat. It is, let's say 15 years ago, it was, I think, much more rural than it is now. Winchester is sort of blooming into a retirement community, which is fascinating to me. I-81 runs right through it, Shenandoah Valley area. So I don't know what the reaction would be. Frederick County is a Second Amendment sanctuary for sure. And I believe Winchester, Virginia is also a Second Amendment sanctuary, although I got to go back and I got to double check that. I could see this becoming a fairly popular idea in the area. I mean, just looking, I can't keep track of all of the Second Amendment sanctuaries because now we do have more than 130. So let's see. I'm just looking here. Frederick County is Winchester. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about Winchester, so I got to go back and double check. But again, let's put it this way. I think there's a great deal of support for this, or would be, depending on what kind of gun control laws we see come down the pike. All right, so let's get to some of your questions and your comments here before we have to wrap things up for the week. Obviously, a lot of you want to talk about Lobby Day coming up on Monday in Richmond, Virginia. I've had folks asking, is there a live stream anywhere? I'm not aware of any official live stream. I do know that the big talk radio station in Richmond, Virginia is supposed to be at least audio streaming. And I'm not able to pick up the Richmond talk radio stations here in Farmville, but I believe that's WRVA 1140 AM and 96.1 FM. I believe that they are going to have, according to Philip Van Cleve, who joined us yesterday, they're going to have at least an audio live stream of the rally portion of the Lobby Day events that begins at 11 a.m. I will be there. I am one of the scheduled speakers alongside Stephen Williford, the hero of Sutherland Springs, Texas, Dick Heller, the plaintiff in the Heller versus D.C. case that struck down D.C.'s gun ban. Antonia Okafor is going to be there. A number of Virginia lawmakers will be there. Virginia Sheriff Danny Diggs from York County is scheduled to speak. So it's going to be a great lineup of Second Amendment supporters and advocates who will be speaking during the Lobby Day rally portion of the activities. Let's see. Also, had a number of folks asking about, can't we, bring Governor Northam up on treason charges? Can't we impanel a grand jury? No, you can't. What we can do, and what is being done, is the Virginia Citizens Defense League Gun Owners of America filing suit to try to block Northam's ban on that 14-acre part of Richmond, Virginia, known as Capitol Square. And at issue is this 2012 law that actually Governor Ralph Northam and Attorney General Mark Herring both voted for because they were in the legislature at the time. And it's a bill that restricts the ability of governors in Virginia to enact gun bans during states of emergency. The only place where the governor can declare firearms to be banned would be emergency shelters. And so Governor Northam is taking the position that this 14-acre part of the downtown Richmond area, where the state capitol is located, is an emergency shelter. It's not. It's a public space, and it's actually going to be a place where tens of thousands of people are gathering to exercise their First Amendment rights come Monday. Unfortunately, late Thursday afternoon, a district judge said, oh, no, the governor has the power to do this. Really kind of ignored the statutes that explicitly say that the governor does not have the authority to do this. And so now this case is up before the Virginia State Supreme Court. As I'm taping this show, we don't have a verdict from the Virginia State Supreme Court, but I'll be honest with you, regardless of what the state Supreme Court does, there is going to be that security plan in place, because every other quote unquote weapon would still be banned under Northam's state of emergency. And so come Monday morning, there's going to be one entrance into the Capitol grounds, and that one entrance is apparently going to have 17 magnetometers. So it's not going to be, 10,000 folks filing single file onto the Capitol grounds. They're going to try to get folks in as quickly as possible. There are going to be multiple exits. I've had a number of people also express some concerns about, well, what happens if you got this, pin where 10,000 people are, and then, something goes south and you've just got panic in there with only one way of egress. You will not have one way of egress. You've got one entrance, you've got multiple exits, and the police are going to limit the number of individuals inside that perimeter to about 10,000 people. So there are going to be, I expect anyway, thousands more outside of the Capitol grounds. But again, we'll just have to see what happens on Monday. Rick writing in from Northern Virginia, Prince William County, Virginia. And this is really interesting. Rick pointed out that the county supervisors of Prince William County, in 2019, during the elections, a Democratic majority was voted in, but they did not take office until January. So in December, the outgoing Board of Supervisors passed a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution for Prince William County, which is in Northern Virginia. It's one of sort of the D.C. exurbs. And one of the first orders of business for this new Democratic majority was going to be repealing that ordinance, or actually passing a gun safety ordinance or resolution instead. When it came time for their first meeting, they ended up playing some games in order to try to drive down attendance. They actually moved the time of the meeting up to mid-afternoon. Hundreds of gun owners still showed up, and the motion was tabled. And at the most recent board meeting, which took place earlier this week, the motion was in essence tabled indefinitely. They're not going to bring up this gun safety resolution. Rick says it was unanimous, and it was a direct result of our engagement at the county level. And I agree with, I think that's absolutely right. Rick says, all the supervisors, the chairman remarked that they support removing the resolution that was tabled. They also agreed that the county should be concerned with the county and let the state do what the state will do. Well, and I'm glad to hear that as well, Rick, although I will say, we've got a bill that's already cleared the state Senate on Thursday, and it's going to empower Prince William County to do some bad things when it comes to your Second Amendment rights. This bill would allow localities, and that would include Prince William County, it would allow them to ban firearms during permitted events. It would also, according to the sponsor, allow gun shows to be banned on government-owned property, and would allow for localities to sue firearms manufacturers. So, if this bill passes, don't get me wrong, Rick, it is fantastic that these supervisors have put this resolution aside. But don't get disengaged now. Every gun owner that is as engaged as they are in Prince William County, you need to stay that engaged, because I have a feeling this bad bill is going to become a bad law. And I have a feeling that the Democratic majority on the Board of Supervisors in Prince William County may try to use this bad bill that will become likely a bad law to, again, try to shut down gun shows, to try to ban firearms from all types of events in Prince William County, possibly even to sue firearms manufacturers as a county. We know that this is a big agenda item for Every Town for Gun Safety, Michael Bloomberg's anti-gun group. They actually have a law firm. They have the Every Town, litigation group, basically, and they are salivating over the prospect of using localities in Virginia to try to pursue litigation against firearms manufacturers and put them out of business. So, Rick, I appreciate you writing in, sir. Let's try to get to one more email here. This is from Dale, who wrote in about the Hampton City Council meeting. And he says, it was interesting. He says, I have a good friend on the board, my Councilman Billy Hobbs. He said, sitting to the mayor's left, and he was sharing a part of a video where one of the council members was, fairly disrespectful, I think, to those hundreds of folks who showed up in support of the Second Amendment Sanctuary meeting. Anyway, Dale, I appreciate you writing in. He says, please say hello to Miss E for me. I will. Miss E is doing well. For those of you who follow along with the non-Second Amendment related stuff, 40 Acres and a Fool, the podcast, or you follow me on Twitter, and you know about my wife, Miss E, who is pretty awesome, but who is also fighting lung cancer right now. We are hoping, it's been a couple of weeks since we've been able to get a podcast up on the Blaze Podcast Network, but we are hoping to do a podcast this weekend. There will be one hopefully on the Blaze Podcast Network next week. And let's talk programming if we can for just a minute here before we have to get out of here. So Monday, here's the tentative plan for how we're going to cover Lobby Day at Bearing Arms. I will be there at the Capitol probably before sunrise on Monday morning, and I will be staying there through early afternoon. I will be speaking again as part of the Lobby Day activities, which means that I'm probably not going to have a chance to get my laptop out and write up a bunch of stories. That being said, Tom Knighton and I are in communication. Tom is going to be taking photos that I'm sending him and firsthand accounts of what's going on, and he'll be writing this up for bearingarms.com, for the website. So we will have coverage of the Lobby Day activities Monday morning at bearingarms.com. As far as Bearing Arms Cam and Company goes, I'm going to try really hard to get a show up on Monday afternoon. Basically, the Lobby Day rally is supposed to end at noon. I suspect it might go a little long. I suspect it's going to take some time to get out of the Capitol grounds. I have to get up to Washington, D.C. for a flight to SHOT Show that takes off around 6 o'clock Monday evening. So I've got a little wiggle room. But again, given the just crowds of people in downtown Richmond, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get out of town. My hope is that I'm able to get to the airport in Washington, D.C. with enough time that I can sit down in front of my laptop. You will not see this, palatial studio behind me. You won't see the driveway. It'll basically be me on my laptop, filling you in, giving you a firsthand account, and just basically a download of everything that I saw and everything that I witnessed at Lobby Day. Again, I'm hoping to be able to do that before I have to get on an airplane. If I can't get that done before I get on an airplane, then we'll do that Tuesday from SHOT Show. The plan is that we will be doing Bearing Arms Cam and Company from SHOT Show. Not quite sure where yet, not quite sure when yet, not quite sure what it's going to look like yet, but that is the plan. And then next week as well, we're going to have a lot of coverage at bearingarms.com from SHOT Show. So make sure you're checking the website on a regular basis, as well as, of course, subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, townhall.com's podcast page. You can subscribe to Town Hall Media as well at YouTube. That way you never miss an episode of Bearing Arms Cam and Company. Unfortunately, we do have to scoot out of here, but thank you for being a part of the program today. Enjoy your weekend. Again, make sure you're checking in with us on Monday as we have full coverage for you from the Virginia Capitol. And don't forget as well, you can also subscribe to Bearing Arms, become a VIP member at bearingarms.com, get exclusive analysis, commentary, and more. We certainly do thank you for your support. Thanks for watching, for listening, for spreading the word. Have a great weekend. We'll see you here soon with another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company.